Hi, welcome. This is Tom Stone. I'm doing a little bit of a follow-up call with Karen Barry, see how she's doing since our initial session. So Karen, hi, and please tell us a little bit about how you've been doing since the session.
Okay. I think I told you in a follow-up email as well that initially I felt fantastic in absolutely, well, immediately from the session. It was just, I felt like, you could see it in my face. And,
Mm,
and the feelings were like lots of clarity and it felt like for a few days after, like something was missing. So there was definitely a shift. It was a huge shift for me. But then something else shifted in my life too, an external issue, which has really kind of I don't know, gathered momentum, I think, in terms of positivity. So it's kind of I don't know whether I think I told you I don't know whether they're related or
mm,
because
mm,
I was feeling better inside, the other things kind of manifested.
mm.
I don't know whether I'm explaining that very well, but
No, I get exactly what you're saying because quite frankly, this is quite common. Because when you change your inside, the thing is, we have the illusion that we're separate from the universe, but we're not. The universe is actually what we really are. We are the totality of everything. So when we change something inside of ourselves, it's quite natural that the whole rest of the world changes because it's all you anyway, you know?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so it's very likely that, in fact, these positive changes are a reflection. I mean, you had a whole different resonance after you got rid of all that emotional pain, right? And
yeah,
so then your whole reality shifts and the whole world around you shifts. It's amazing. Sometimes people say, oh, I'm having so much trouble with my husband or blah, 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 whatever. And then we do the session and they say, oh, he changed.
yeah,
And he did change, but his change was created by the change that happened in you. So the very first place, whenever you're suffering from anything, the very first place to look is inside.
yeah, yeah,
Because even when you clean it up, even if the other person doesn't change, whatever, your whole perspective on the situation changes and you feel so much more present, so much more able to deal with things. And the part that you were feeling about something was missing, you're right, something was missing. It was an old familiar suffering that was missing. This
what,
is terrific.
yeah, what can I've got two questions, is that okay?
Sure, of course, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. One question is, when that suffering or emotional pain or whatever it is, wherever it's stuck or whatever, when it's released, is
Yeah.
is it is it better to kind of fill that space with something else?
It's a
Something
great question.
positive. I don't know. I
It's,
don't
it's,
know.
it's a terrific question, and I have a great answer for you. People are always interested in finding their life purpose, like what are you here for? And I had an insight quite some years ago, and I've been saying this for a long time, that everybody actually has the same basic life purpose. And that is to respond spontaneously to the needs of each moment with the fullness of your being. So that means what we want to do is we want to be present and purposeful for everything. Like when you're cooking dinner, your purpose is cooking dinner. When you're making love, your purpose is to enjoy and make love and have your partner enjoy. When you're going for a walk, your purpose is to go for a walk and enjoy the sunshine or the exercise or whatever. So if you're doing a business plan, your purpose is to make a good plan. So whatever it is that you're doing, if you're really fully present to it and you're really putting your heart into it, giving it your all, then you're on purpose in every single moment, no matter what you're doing. So in answer to your question, rather than fill it with something that you kind of expect or you say, oh, it should be this way, right? That's just creating an expectation. That's actually a function of the ego. We don't want to be operating from the ego. We want to be operating from the wholeness of what we truly are, from our, we call it our inner greatness, which it really is. It's like our connection to our knowing. you know. And every successful person, if you study them online, you know, all the time, you know, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Oprah Winfrey, Albert Einstein, all these people, every one of them said that the key to success is trusting your intuition. And the ability to do that is to get rid of the garbage that's in the way, which is all the emotional pain and fears. Oh, if I do that, something terrible will happen, you know, all that kind of stuff. We get rid of all that, and we're just present to what's there. And then when the need shows up, or whatever it is, and then we just respond to it, that's like the most beautiful way of living. It's like, because then everything you do, you're totally on purpose no matter what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. And the second question, and this one I might not be able to articulate very well.
That's
So,
okay, I'll help you.
let me think. In life, and obviously this relates to, because my background in psychology, it relates to maybe childhood emotional pain, things that were stuck or imprinted or conditioned or whatever
Right.
you want to call it.
Right.
And as you go through life, there are certain people that trigger you. Yeah? So you might have a conversation, or something might happen, and it triggers you. And if the same thing happened with another person, it wouldn't trigger you in the same way.
Right.
My question is it the actual emotional pain that's already there that's being triggered? Or so therefore it's kind of like triggering something that's kind of because something happened to me last week, and I reacted, and I kind of fell down the hole again, if you like, because I know that with this person, I shouldn't react in that way. Well, not that I shouldn't react in that way, but I always used to react in that way. So I kind of felt, oh my God, I've been triggered. I'm kind of falling down this hole and reacting in that way. And so afterwards, I was more annoyed with myself because I reacted that way than the actual situation.
Of course, yeah.
The question is it because that emotional pain is still there, or is it is it to do with that person? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And let me give you a little bit broader context so you can understand it well, okay? Because this is my field, and I've been working on this for 25 years, and I understand this probably better than anybody on the planet. Traditional psychology doesn't really get this stuff as deeply and thoroughly as I've been fortunate to have the insights. But basically, there are two fundamental kinds of emotions. There are useful emotions and not useful emotions. Now, useful emotions are if you're about to cross the street and a car's coming you didn't see, and all of a sudden you see it at the last moment, and you like that. This is useful fear. I mean, it saves us, right? So when the emotion is about something that's real, then the emotion has a very important function of like a self-preservation kind of function, right? Or whatever the emotion happens to be. So other useful emotions are, love, compassion, gratitude, forgive, there's all kinds of emotions that are useful. But most emotions are actually not useful. And they fall also into two categories, okay? One category is exactly what you're talking about, is the old emotional pain that's unresolved. We got rid of some of that when we did our session with you, okay? And then you're enjoying the lightness and the benefit and the wow, I feel completely different. This is beautiful, okay? That's excellent. Those kinds of emotional energies are caused by not completing an intense emotional experience right when it happens. So something happens and there's too much emotional energy. We can't process it in the moment. And so we store some of it inside. And we tend to store it in this kind of tight, constricted, localized, internal kind of way, right? You know what I'm talking about. It's like the ones, it's like the painful ones you feel like that. Okay, that's one type. We use the in technique, which we did, and the in technique on those energies. And what it does is it completes the incomplete experience that's been sitting there waiting for completion all this time. The body's actually creating this sensation because it's trying to call your attention to it. It's like, come on and feel me. I need you to feel me. But our conditioning of emotional suppression and avoidance is so deep. It's like, no, thanks. I'm not going there. Maybe next week, maybe next month, maybe next year, maybe never if I can get away with it. It's like we're deeply in the habit of emotional suppression, so we don't do it, right? And so we hang on to them and we accumulate them, and everybody's got lots of them. Okay.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
other type of emotion is what we call a reactive emotion. And sometimes what you're talking about can be either one or the other or both. Okay. So let's say you had something painful happen. Okay. It's completely reasonable and normal, and it happens quite a lot, that people will create a fear that, oh, something bad like that might happen again. Okay. Now, they're making up a story in their mind. Now, there's a reason they're making it up, because something painful did happen. Okay. But that doesn't mean that something painful is going to happen. When we create the fear that it's going to happen, and then we start living inside the story of that fear, believing it's real, okay, then we create an emotional energy that we call a reactive emotion. It's a reaction to the story, right? There's no incompletion about this, okay? That's the trauma part, okay? This is a new energy that gets created every time we have the thought of that. Now, it's very common that we'll meet a person and they, for some reason, will trigger one of those kind of reactions, right? Or they can be in some way we can associate them with some old emotional pain, and it's like they're reaching inside and pushing on that pain, and we react to that. So it can actually happen either way, right? And so it's extremely valuable to become really good at being able to distinguish which kind of emotional energy is being triggered, and then immediately do the techniques.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what this freedom practice, I wrote you an email to tell you about. This freedom practice is about becoming super good at that. And I'll tell you, the things I'm seeing with people who are practicing that, they're becoming so incredibly emotionally competent. They're just integrating it into their life. It's like freedom is the right word for it, right? They're freeing themselves from being victims of emotion. So it's extremely valuable. I don't know anything that improves your life more than becoming truly emotionally competent. So what you're talking about with this thing that got triggered last week, one of the tools that we use in the freedom practice is we teach everybody how to do the muscle testing. Okay, you remember we used that.
Yeah, I do
What
that.
happened? Yeah, and what happens is when I can test for you, okay, because I'm good at doing this. So what happened when you got triggered? There was some of the in technique energy present. Yes. Some of the out technique also present. Yeah, sometimes there's both. Okay. And sometimes there's even more than one. So the cool thing is being able to recognize it, test for which kind it is immediately, stop what you're doing, go and do the locate technique, which is where you go into the quietness, and then you tell the body, okay, show me the energy that's causing this thought. Okay. And then you go, and it shows you, and then you do the technique and result, and then that one's gone. That's the beauty of it. When that's gone, it's really gone. It doesn't come back, right? And we have a huge backlog because we're so deeply conditioned to avoid intense emotional energies that we just accumulate them and they just amass, so, and eventually they turn into all kinds of chronic illnesses, chronic pain. I've had about 8 different people I've helped with chronic pain, and it's just going away. It's like amazing. So yeah, so it's really great skill to have, and you experienced both sides of this picture. You experience what it's like to get rid of it and how good it feels, and then you experience that there's still a bunch there, and it can get triggered by different kinds of situations. Yeah, so I just want to encourage you to consider the possibility of, getting good at doing this. If finances are a problem, by the way, I've worked out some things with people who have a little trouble with finance. I'll just make any deal you want because I want you to have this, right? It's really important. So let me encourage you to do that. We've got a group going, and the great thing is you join the group and you post every day, you post a little report on what you did, okay? And then everybody can see that, but you can see everybody else's too. Is that just happened to me? I'll do that. So it's like there's a really nice collective thing. And for a lot of the time, people are just doing it correctly, and I'll just put a little thumbs up. I don't even have to say anything because they're doing good, But other times they'll say, you might be missing something. It sounds like there's a little ego-based thought over here. Check it out. So anyway, just want to encourage you in that particular way. But it sounds like you've been good. Sounds like you're doing, from the first session, sounds like you got a great result.
Yeah, because even when that happened last week, immediately I did what we did, what did the
Oh,
intent,
great.
feel it all in my throat.
Oh, great, great, great.
And I could see it, I could visualize it as well there. So I did
Yeah.
that and I feel better. But it was like you almost think that you're not going to have that, do you know what I mean? But obviously it's life.
The thing
So
is, yeah, the thing is, we have so many of them, and unfortunately, each one you have to deal with individually. It's not.
individually, yeah, yeah.
So far, we haven't figured out some global, vacuuming that just sweeps them all up. That would be cool, but it's not like that. It's like we've got this lifetime of accumulation, and so we have to chip away at those databases. Now, fortunately, it does go pretty fast. In the I started this work in about 1997, so it's been over 20 years, and it's been kind of evolving over time. And when I started to teach people, they would learn how to do it, and they would learn the whole protocol for how to find the energy and everything. It was like people who would really do it fairly frequently, I would start to see in a year or two, I'd start to see them really experiencing a kind of whole different life of really like that pure awareness was present a lot of the time, and situations would come up and they would just handle them like in these ways like totally never would have been able to handle it like that before. And so this past this past March, I started a program to train presenters of my work here in China. Okay. I was going to say here in China, but I'm in Dubai at the moment. So in China, and I've got about 35 people in this program. And I created this freedom practice thing specifically for this group, because I wanted, when they get up to speak, I wanted them to be speaking from that inner greatness place, so that no matter what they say, it's going to be right. Okay?
So
And
the
no
like
matter what,
role
yeah,
models.
no
Yeah.
matter what they say, they're being such a living example of having that clean emotional energy that people in the audience, even if they couldn't articulate it, they'd say, oh, I don't know what that person's got, but whatever they got, I want some of that.
Yeah.
uh,
Excellent.
Reminds me of that movie, When Harry Met Sally. Did you see that
Yeah.
movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal. And in fact, I was on my flight over here the other day. That was one of the movies on the thing, and I watched it and fast forwarded to get to this one cool scene where they're in a restaurant and they're talking about women faking orgasms. I don't know if you remember that part.
Yeah, I
And
do. Yes.
Billy Crystal says, "Oh, I can tell the difference," and she said, "Oh, you think you can?" And she fakes an orgasm right in the restaurant. And then the scene goes over to a woman that's sitting over there about to order, and the older woman says, "I'll have what she's having." I tell that story as a kind of, it's obviously different, but as an example, it's like when someone is really being powerful in some way, that's natural, that's authentic, then other people are just naturally drawn to that. And that's the quality I want it in my presenters. Much more important than the content, of what they're saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is the way of being. So anyway, what I'm seeing in these people, because with the freedom practice, you're doing the techniques a lot every day. You start out just doing it in the morning for 20 or 30 minutes, just go into the quietness, let the thoughts come, test for them, and then, and then do the technique. But what happens after you do that for a while is you start to become more conscious of what kind of thoughts you're having during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start to recognize, oh, that might be an emotional pain-based thought. Let me check. And you test, and sure enough, it is. And then you immediately do the technique and you get it. So you start to integrate it into your life on a daily basis. And it's fantastic that you did the technique immediately. This is exactly what we want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get really good at that. And in the process, it gives me an opportunity to kind of mentor everybody and help them to refine and adjust and know what to do under different circumstances, stuff like that. So they get better and better and better at it. It gets easier and easier like that. So anyway, I'm extremely happy because I'm seeing in this group the kinds of experiences in a month or two that I didn't used to see for a year or two with people doing it the
Wow.
old. So this is like a 10 times accelerator, and it's really impacted my whole view of how I'm going to have my training. I'm going to be doing this is like the flagship initial offering. This is what people take, a very short course to learn the 4 techniques you need in muscle testing, and then they start the freedom practice. And I just trained a whole bunch of these students who are getting really good at this to be freedom practice mentors. So we'll have lots of groups, and we'll have people who can handle that. So it's a
Yeah.
very exciting time, actually. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, great. So yeah, if it appeals to you, get involved in this, because this is a great thing.
Okay.
And your
Thank
background in psychology is great because you understand a lot of the principles of this stuff.
you.
But what
Yeah.
I'm noticing is that the people who've been involved in psychology to whatever degree, like that, when they learn this stuff, it's sort of like they've found the fulfillment of what they were looking for when they went to study psychology. It's kind of like, wow.
I
Yeah,
think that's what you do. You study psychology to find the answers, and you come out with more questions.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so it's a lifetime of learning and experience, and
Yeah.
yeah, yes,
Yeah, that's because in psychology, it's mainly focused on the intellectual understanding. Like, why
yes,
did it happen?
yeah,
What did your mother do, when you were 3, or, whatever. And the thing is that the thing that keeps the emotional problem alive is not the content. It's
hmm,
the sensation, which is the experience of the energy of the emotion.
yes, yeah,
So when
yeah,
we shift from the content to the energy, and we really resolve the energy, when it's gone that way, then it's really gone. It just becomes like a non-issue, you
hmm,
know? And
yeah,
that's what we want. So
yeah. So it's really the energy that's driving the bus, isn't it?
absolutely, the energy is the entire thing. When there's no energy, there's no problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, cool. Well, that's great. Well, good report. I'm glad to hear that.
yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So, if you need the email, if you need the links or anything about that program, again, let me know. I'll send them to you.
Yeah,
Otherwise, if you need some like partial scholarship or whatever you want, just let me know, and I'd be happy to make any arrangement with you, because this is so important for people. I'm not concerned about the money part, the price part. I just want people to have this. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay, great.
Have a look. Thank you. Thank you,
All right.
Tom.
You're welcome. All the best. Bye, Karen.
Okay. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye bye.